This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. And thank you for coming and joining us this evening for the learning of Torah Hashem Be'ezras Hashem Yisbach. As always, we begin with Rishus Tamad Asra, her Rav Landau, with continued appreciation to all of you for coming and making this year possible. We learn the Refuah Shalema from my Rebbitzin, Miriam Liba Bas Devora. We learn with the tefillah that all of those that have been touched by the dreaded machla, known as Yana Machla, other related diseases, should have a Refuah Shalema B'Sech Shachar Yisrael. All of us and our loved ones should always be healthy. We learn with the tefillah that those that are awaiting their shidduch should find their shidduch quickly and easily. All those that are awaiting children should be blessed with Zara Chaya V'Kayam, a healthy mommy, healthy baby. We should have Parnasa B'Revach U'B'Chavay and enjoy Lange Gesundte Zisa Shalom Bayis. We thank Dr. Binyamin Panzer and his family for their help with this year. All over the world, people are engaged in the pursuit of Chometz to fulfill the mitzvah asay of Tashbisu Sa'ar Mibatechem and the Lois asay, not to have Bal Yirah Chometz or Bal Yirah Sa'ar B'chol Moshe Seichem, what we call Bal Yirah and Bal Yamatzeh. And there was a family in Eretz Yisrael that practiced very little of Yiddishkeit. But one thing, they didn't have Chometz in their home. That was something they were very careful with. I mean, there's a family that didn't eat kosher. The Shmir Shabbos wasn't that great. But Chometz, you couldn't find Chometz, beer, pasta, not in their house. Lobster the rest of the year, yeah. But not Chometz. And they were asked why. And they said because they remembered their mother a full month before Pesach working so hard to clean the house for Chometz. And that left an imprint on them, which is a tremendous lesson that if we want to make an impact on our children, then it takes effort. And that which they see us being Meiser Nefesh for, that will stay with them. It will stay with them. It's like one of my children, who became a very big Talmid Chacham, told me, he says, Tati, I remember that you were always learning, even when mommy was having a baby, even when one of the children were in the hospital, you were always giving the daf. You were always going to the daf, no matter what. That makes an impact on the children. I always mention that the fact that they cleaned for Chometz in the Warsaw ghetto with great effort, even though it was already known that they might not be alive on Pesach, shows the importance of the mitzvah of cleaning the house for Pesach. However, there's a balance. The Cheshukei Chemed Haggadah brings down an incredible contemporary story. A Beis Yaakov girl, an older girl, came to the house of Reb Michal Horowitz Shlita to ask a shayla on the day of B'dikas Chometz. And she came into the house, and she was shocked. She saw Chometz all over the place. Here was the day of B'dikas Chometz an average even Jewish home, the chametz is already consigned to a small corner, maybe in the basement, maybe on the porch, maybe outside the house. And here she saw chametz was all over the place. And Rav Horowitz saw her expression, and he told her, let me explain. Cleaning of chametz is a very worthy pursuit. However, my Rebbetzin, he said, is ill. And if I would go about the normal preparations for Pesach, it would make her very agitated, and it might even cause anger. And he said that, therefore, this year, where I'm worried for her gesund, and I'm worried for the avira of the house, I am not going to engage in any chumras, in any stringencies. Rather, I will take out a broom by B'dikanite, and I'll do the job as best as I can. The rest I will be mavatal, and I will sell to the guy. And he said that cleaning for chametz is a great mitzvah until one allows to creep into the house ha-chometz b'yoser, the greatest chametz. Says, what's the greatest chametz? Kas, anger. That's the greatest chametz. Because once the anger creeps in the house, then all of your efforts become afrodara. Those were Michael Horowitz's words. That's why one has to be very careful to cast aspersions on people that go to hotels. Oh, Pesach Mamishnish, they're going to hotels, and who knows what the Goyim are doing in the kitchen. How can any Yorei Shemayim do such a thing? You have to know that some women are physically unable to make Pesach. And if they do, they get sick. They get agitated. In other cases, the wife is not well. There are a host of reasons. But in this area, it certainly applies, al todin es chavercha ad shetigeh lemekayim. Don't judge a person until you're in their shoes. Now, why does Reb Michael Horowitz say that the Chometz b'yoser is anger? Probably because the Gemara says that the se'ir shebe'isa, the yeast in the dough, the leaven agitates. And it's compared to the Yitzhar that agitates. And when a person becomes the most agitated, he gets angry. So the Chometz b'yoser is kas. Now you have to know that we have a rule that the bigger the mitzvah, the greater is the Yitzhara. Oftentimes, I've told you that the Chometz Chaim says this concept that the Yitzhara is not lazy. He gets up before you to try to get you not to get up on time, for sure. He stays up after you trying to get you not to go to sleep on time. And yet the Yitzhar does not fight with Avraham, he does not fight with Yitzchak, he only fights with Yaakov. We would think that the Yitzhar is not one to procrastinate. He should fight already with Avraham, knock it out before it gets started. It's hard already, it's a chut ha-meshulish. Yaakov is a triple chord. Why didn't the Yitzhar start with Avraham? Chometz Chaim says the famous thought that the Yitzhar is selective. He selects his battles. And he says, I could live with the chesed of Avram and the avoid of Yitzchak, but not with the Torah of Yaakov. That's war. So therefore we said that there are certain areas that the Yetzer Hara works on overdrive. He lets you do certain things. Now, the areas where the Yetzer Hara works especially hard is where Shechina is involved. Where Shechina is involved, the Yetzer Hara says, after all, that's the purpose of life. It says in the Mesilas Yesharim, a person lives lehonis meziv Shechina in the next world. Tzadikim yashvim atroseim b'rosheim v'nenim meziv Shechina. And even in this world, we could merit the Shechina. When it comes to meriting the Shechina, it's war with the Yetzer Hara. That's why so many good people have difficult shalom bayis. Because the Yetzer Hara turns up 10 notches when it comes to shalom bayis. Because ish v'isha, shalom beineim, Shechina shuriya beineim. So the Shechina is at stake. Shechina is at stake. So the Yetzer Hara goes into overdrive. Same thing, that's why so many people have a hard time with kibbut av ein. Good people that do chesed, they make phone calls, they thank people, they check up on people, they don't check up on their parents. Comes to calling their parents, maybe later, maybe next time. I called already, I'm not in the mood. Well, what is that all about? Without their parents, they wouldn't be doing anything. But we know that parents directly related to the Shechina. And it says that if there's no kibbut av ein in the house, so Hashem says, Yofa asisi shaloi darti b'neim. It's good that I didn't live in this house. I don't have Shechina in this house. Because if I would be in this house, tziaruni. So when it comes to kibbut av ein Shechina, that's also why there are so many people that do a lot of Jewish activities, but they don't have kviyas itim l'Torah. Now we would think that everybody would make sure to have kviyas itim l'Torah. We know tchilas dinoi shel adam ein ela b'divrei Torah. We know that a person's first judged about Torah. So we would think that for sure a person will make sure to acquit himself well. Every 12 hours he would fix time to learn Torah. He knows that that's going to be the first question that's going to determine his eternity. And even the Gemara in Shabbos, first he'll be asked, but then he'll be asked after that, do you make time every 12 hours to learn Torah? I mean, how could a thinking person that believes in Olam Haba, and of course we believe in Olam Haba. That's why the Jewish toast is L'chaim, 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 L'chaim. Why not L'chai? To life. No, we don't believe in L'chai. We believe in Chayim. This world and the next. And that's it. We say every day in our Shemoneh Esrei, we make a statement of affirmation. And that's very important to make a statement of affirmation. You are believed to resurrect the dead. Because it says in the Gemara in Sanhedrin that if you don't believe, you don't get it. So we believe in the afterlife. And our afterlife is going to be determined by Kavati Itum Latayra. So how could it be? We would think that the thinking person will first have for sure fixed that every 12 hours they have something to learn, whether they have a Seder every day, they learn Mishnayos, I think a person has a plan. People don't have a plan. They learn, they give a shmek here. I had the Rav's Drasha. I go to a shir a few minutes a day. Even a person goes to a daf yomi, it's only in the night or in the day. He needs to have kavat to eat them both in the day and in the night. Why do people have such a haphazard attitude to learning Torah? Because again, Shechina is at stake. Even one person that sits and learns Torah, when the Shechina is at stake, the Yetzer Hara goes into overdrive. Of course, it's also because that's our purpose in this world. That's why you were created. It's our purpose in the world. Since it's our purpose in the world, So the Yetzer Hara tries to frustrate us that we should fail at our mission. So we have to know the night of the Seder also is a night of Shechina. It's much different than Sukkot. On Sukkot we have the Ushpizin. But by the Seder night we have the Shechina. Uvamora Gadol Zil Gilui Shechina. That's why it's a Leil Shimurim. Leil Shimurim La Hashem. It's a night of protection. Hashem is there. And also Leil Shimurim La Hashem means a Leil that we hope for Hashem to come. That's why it's a remarkable thing. I mentioned this last year. It's a remarkable thing that almost no Haggadah has printed in it Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chayil, Ribono Kol Olam. I have in the house over 100 Haggadahs. There's almost no Haggadah that has printed in Shalom Aleichem. Recently, it came out in Tafshin Ayin Hey. Haggadah was printed in London. Oitzer Divrei Hamafoshim that has Shalom Aleichem and Eishes Chayil in it. But almost no Haggadah has Shalom Aleichem. Now, this is a big machlokes. It's a big machlokes whether you say Shalom Aleichem this year, Friday night. I went through this last year. The Haggadahs Chodesh Aviv says you don't say it. It's a minhag bells to say Shalom Aleichem. It's a minhag karlin to say it quietly. Some say only one stanza. Now there are those that say it's simply because there's no time to waste. Not that that's a waste of time. Relatively, we don't want the children to fall asleep. Let us start a show. And we're going to stop prolonging it with Shalom Aleichem, with Ribono Kol Olam, with Eishes Chayil. And then they're going to be lost. They'll be sleeping by the time we get to Manishtan. But others say you don't need Shalom Aleichem because tonight Hashem comes. Hashem is here. Hashem is here. You don't need Shalom Aleichem. You don't need to say to the angels, Bachuni l'Shalom. It's like to the angels. It's like the president is in the room and you're asking the mayor to do you a favor. The president is there. What are you asking the mayor for? L'havdil, the Ribono Shel Olam is telling them, Alochem Bachuni l'Shalom. Some say we say one stanza, we say it quietly because we have a curse atoif to them the whole year. So just because now we don't need them, we don't snub them. So we say it quietly. But the Shechina is here. Ooh, the Shechina is here. The Shechina is here, so the Yetzer Hara pulls out all the stops to cause all kinds of mischief the night of the Seder. All kinds of mischief. Because if the Shechina is at stake, then the Yetzer Hara goes into high drive. And that's why the Chidah says that when it says in the Simonei Seder, Motzi Matzah, Matzah means confrontation. It means quarrels. It means mariva, argument. Motzi Matzah, make sure to expel any fights because morer kaireich, because bitterness is enwrapped. Bitterness is tied to all kinds of fighting. So the Chidah warns us, make sure by the Seder, Motzi Matzah. You have to know that this is not an empty warning. Not an empty warning. The Friedrich Stollner Rebbe says that that's why it says in the Pasuk, Eloheya Masecha Lo Yisasalach. Molten images of gods you shouldn't make. Es Chag HaMatzos Tishma. Keep the Chag of Matzos. Now what's the juxtaposition of idolatry and the matzahs? So the Stollner Rebbe says, because there are people that because of their passion for chumras on Pesach, and some of the chumras are very hard, when somebody doesn't toe the line and keep the chumrah, they get all upset. They get mad. And he says, Kol hakoyes kilo ayven avodah zarah. If you get angry, it's like avodah zarah. So we're being ruined. Don't commit idolatry. Don't get angry. Chag HaMatzos tishmar. So interesting. I'll tell you a story that happened with somebody that I know. The wife had a custom that she got from her mother, that Pesach by night, by the Seder, her mother put a tomato in the chickens. A whole tomato. It was a minhag. And I told you many times that minhag is Isis Gehenim, and it has special significance on the night of the Seder because we were saved from Mitzrayim because of minhagim. We didn't change our names, our clothing, our language; those are all minhagim. So there's a minhag to put a tomato in the soup. What the reason is for a minhag? In Seichel Adam, whatever the reason, put a tomato in the soup. There was a relative at the Seder who had a chumrah that he didn't eat anything that wasn't peeled. So he wouldn't eat a tomato unless it's peeled. Who peels a tomato? So he went over to the soup and he saw the soup had an unpeeled tomato. He went crazy. Went crazy. That's not mitzad hayetzer toiv, that's mitzad hayetzer. Now, how do I know that? You'll say, no, Adirabba, this person was shomer his Messiah. He went berserk over his Messiah from his ancestors. So I'll tell you, the Reb Aaron Mikalin told this story over from Reb Pinchas Mikaritz, the Heilige Reb Pinchas Mikaritz. The Reb Pinchas was sitting by the Seder, and they were very makpid on gebrochts. And the Mesharsis, the maid, served the soup, and it had a piece of matzah in it. A piece of matzah fell in. And Rav Moshe, Reb Pinchas, his son, got very angry and scolded the Mesharsis, scolded the maid. And the Heilige Reb Pinchas, this is where Aaron Karlin said, the Heilige Reb Pinchas turned to his son, and he told him, Kas is bechinas Chometz. You're getting angry about a piece of matzah. It's matzah. You're getting angry about a piece of matzah that can never become Chometz. While your anger is the embodiment of Chometz. Now, I happened to see this person who went berserk over the tomato on another year go to a hotel on Pesach. I'm saying to myself, I'm going to go to a hotel. You think they're back on peeling the tomatoes in a hotel? But that's the Yetzer Hara. Now, of course, the most dangerous Yetzer Haras are when it comes mitzad hatoy. Person thinks he's doing right. He's being shomer his minhagim. But a person has to know that they have to have their priorities. And forewarned is forearmed. If a person remembers the greatest se'ir shebe'isa, the greatest yeast in the dough, the greatest manifestation of Chometz is kas. Now, it happened to come to me in my preparing today obviously, Rabbi Nisham was nizdamen liyadi, chanced to my hand, two stories that are almost similar. They have both happened. They're almost similar. And the very similarity that two such stories happened is a tremendous lesson that we should learn, that there's a tendency for such nisyonis on the night of the Seder. We know that there's an inyan to set the table before Yom Tov. That's why it says, Shulchan, that we're supposed to set, it says in the Shulchan Aruch, it says in Shulchan Aruch that you should be arranged the Shulchan miba'od yain while it is yet day, so that you get to the table set and you can start right away. Right? So the whole Seder should be set beforehand. You say over the Rav Shach used to set the table several days before the Seder, not Erev Yom Tov, several days before the Seder. Zah Shulchan Asher Lifnei Hashem, and he would learn B'dafka at the Seder table. So it's brought down from Rav Shach. Many times you've heard this, people that have listened to my shiurim and listened to my CDs and tapes have heard this from me many times. They ask a kasha, in the Simonim, why does it say Shulchan Orech? Which means to set the table now. It should say Shulchan Aruch. So the pair Aaron Zechat Tzadik V'Chodesh Bracha Zchus Yogan Aleinu Hashem Yinkam Damai says that it's because of the rhyme. Shulchan Aruch would not rhyme with Koirech. He says, Marur Korech Shulchan Orech. If it would say Shulchan Aruch, it would rhyme. That's what he says. I've added a halachic reason, because Shulchan Aruch would not apply this year by the second Seder. Because the second Seder is on Motzei Shabbos, you can't do Shulchan Aruch. So you would be preparing from Shabbos to Yom Tov. So then you need Shulchan Aruch. So because of that it says Shulchan Aruch. But there's a big inyan to set the table on a regular time before Yom Tov. The table should be set with all the kaises and the matzah and the yayin and the mei melech and everything. Especially this year before Shabbos, when you can't prepare the salt water before. You want to check everything, the bugs from before. You want to open up the wine and open up the matzahs. So Rabbi Mekalin said over that he had a Talmud, Rav Bertza. And he told this story over that Rav Bertza prepared the shulchan before Yom Tov already with the matzahs and the yayin and the maror and the charoises and the mei melech. Everything was sparkling. We know you're supposed to set a table of royalty. Chayav Adam Laharis says, "Atzmoi ki'ilu hu yatzim mitzrayim." We came out with Rechush Gadol. It's a night where we're ostentatious, uncharacteristically so. It's brought down that women bring to the table their jewelry, their pearls, their rings. Make sure that shouldn't get thrown away. People take out their Megillas, which are muktzah, all their sroigim, and they bring the Megillah case, silver Megillah case, a silver esrog holder. They take out the fine decanters, if they're Pesach, they bring it to the table. So a table of luxury. There are people that have a minute to put their Chidushei Torah on the table. It's brought down because it says Tovli Torah's Picha, Me Alfei Zav V'Chesef. So Rebbetzin left the shul with a beautiful table set. He looked at it, and just the pleasure of looking at the table, knowing he'll be sitting surrounded with his family, doing all the mitzvahs of the night, the karpas, the morah, the chazeres, the ahis. His wife, she goes to bench licht, heilige benching licht, special oil, with a lot of oil that should last until, now we have Seder candles, so that they should be lit all the way through the Seder. So they had a lot of oil. And she makes the shechiyanu with great kavanah. And as she's walking away from the candle, she trips. And as she's falling back, in order to catch herself, she grabs hold of the tablecloth, and the whole table pulled with her. Boom! She pulled the whole table down with her. She fell with a bang, and everything came crashing. The candelabra with all the oil, the wine. They used glass. I told you, it's a minig of many, there's a ruah minig of many to use glass by the Seder, so that you could see the red wine and it should be pesumei nisa, or that you should be able to see roiv kais when you drink it. You don't have depth perception if it's a silver kais. So all the metal, all the glass broke, and the matzahs became soggy with the wine and were full of pieces of glass, and the salt water and the myrrh and everything became one big mess. She looked at it, she started crying terribly. She ran into the bedroom and closed the door. Her husband comes home from shul all excited. He walks into the house. He's expecting the beautiful table, and it looks like a tornado hit the house. A veritable explosion. Veritable explosion. Thank you. A veritable explosion. He takes a deep breath, and he yells out, "Good Yontiv, everybody!" His wife is crying in the bedroom. He goes in. He says, "Don't worry. We'll clean it up. We don't have something. I'm sure our neighbors have extra." And in a half an hour, the Seder was back up and running. They say over that Rav Aaron Mikarlin was sitting. Rav Aaron Mikarlin had a Seder with hundreds of Chassidim. And he was sitting and saying, "Our Seder, nish kosher, not bad. Seder no, a nice Seder. But the Seder of Rav Bertza's Seder was Marish Elama. He's made a tumble in heaven." Now I saw this story and fit into the theme of what I'm talking about, that the Iker Chometz is kas, what he could have done, said to his wife, of all the clumsy, idiotic things to do, you know how much a pound of matzah is? Do you know what you did over here? All that glass, beautiful glasses that we've had from all the tradition up in smoke in 1 minute? So I saw the story, and it made a rishim on me. But then I was bowled over when I looked. Watch the table. I was bowled over. Welcome. I was bowled over. Just don't bang against the table. Don't bang against the table. The camera's on the table.
Did I miss a lot?
No.
You started, Mamish?
Come on.
Okay, come on.
I was bowled over by the fact that I saw almost exactly the same story in an entirely different region in the world, the Haggadah Chashukei Chemet brings down that there was a Yid in Yerushalayim, an old Yerushalmi Yid. Old Yerushalmi Yid. He was known as Reb Shapsi Hasavlan. Shapsi Hasavlan was Reb Shapsi the Tolerant. So again, he set the table before Yom Tov together with his wife and the family, a beautiful table. Everything set, the kara set perfectly, all the lettuce checked for bugs, the maror was ground fresh, the karpas was made to perfection, the matzahs, the best ones were picked for the 3 matzahs. I mean, everything was kedas and kedin. There were chairs set to recline on. It was a thing of beauty. And he left the house with such a good feeling, to looking forward to be surrounded by his family on this night in the presence of the Shekhinah. His wife was also a tzedekes, and she sat by the table, and she was looking and kvelling at the table at all our work, the beautiful Pesach ticket china that was clean to perfection, and everything there was set with the napkins and the finest china. In shulchan. She gets up from the table, and where she gets up, the tablecloth was hanging low on the floor. It's a big tablecloth. And she stepped on it, and she tripped, and she pulled the whole tablecloth off. Same story. Everything came crashing down. The candelabra with the oil, the wine, everything, all the glass broke, and the pot, and the finest china destroyed, and all the good matzahs got ruined. It was full of wine. It was broken. No more shleimin. Rav Shapsi Asavlin comes home, and he takes one look, and what was his reaction? His reaction was, the reaction of Roberta, the Karliner Chassid, was one thing. He said, good Yom Tov. He contained himself. He didn't yell at anybody. That's one thing. Perhaps Reb Shapsi Asavlan's reaction was even more incredible. He said, he raised his voice, and he said, Ani maftiach shaloi eseh zoi soid yoser. Hashem, I won't do it anymore. I'll try to be better. He said, if on the night of Pesach this could happen to him, it's the night of the Seder. If Hashem ruined his Seder table, then that means Hashem is telling him in his life, Hakol shaloi b'Seder. Everything is not b'Seder. Instead of saying, my wife is such a klutz, it happened to me. My Seder table got overturned. If Hashem caused my Seder table to not, Hashem, I'll behave better. That's a remarkable reaction. That's a reaction, by the way, that we learned from Yosef HaTzadik. It's very difficult. It's very lofty. But that's what we learned from Yosef HaTzadik. What did Yosef HaTzadik tell the brothers? Lo yatem shlachtem oisiyena. You didn't send me here. Kiyam Elikim. God sent me here. What do you mean? They put him in a pit, naked. They sold him to Archas Yishmaelim. They sold him to Arabs. But listen, it's Hashem's word. Lo yatem shlachtem oisiyena. But that's a very high madrega. That's a very high madrega. But what made a reaction on me is not these very lofty, is what are the chances that 2 exact stories should happen in 2 different parts of the world, recorded? It's teaching us that the night of the Seder is fraught with challenges. Because the Shekhinah comes to the Seder. And when the Shekhinah comes to the Seder, the Yetzer Hara is given license for all kinds of mischief. All kinds of mischief. Now, You'll say, what do I mean, Rabbi Weiss? So I'll tell you. In houses throughout the world, there is a tension, a palpable tension at the Seder between people that want to get ready to the meal. Let's go, it's late, it's hungry, we want to get to the meal. It's a long night. And other people that want to talk pshatim. The children had a lot of time to prepare. They want to say their Torah. They want to ask kashas. They want to enjoy the evening. Tati went to work that day. It was a mad dash with shopping and b'dikas chametz and beer chametz. It's falling apart, especially the first night. He's in a rush. And then the father says to the children, what is this? It's a night of Igarat Levincha to tell your children, you shouldn't tell me, let's go, I'm telling you, let's go to Shulchan Aruch. So what? Father, you're only interested in eating? And it becomes a whole tension. It's a tension. Who do you think is orchestrating that tension? That tension is orchestrated by the Yetzer Hara. That's why in this year I've said many years that I find nothing wrong with the father of the house having a coffee after Kiddush. People look at me like I'm some strange creature. I'd rather the father have a kosher LePesach iced cappuccino so that his headache goes away a little bit. He doesn't make a bracha because the Bayer Priya of Kiddush Pat is all mashke. He doesn't make a bracha. Have a cappuccino? Give me a shaila about making enough bracha on it. It's a shaila. No, we don't make a Bayram Nefashis on the morrow. So you do it before the Karpas. But it is a big night. It is a night of memories. It's been said that the strongest memories of a child, of their childhood, a person of their childhood, is the memories of the night of the Seder. It's the stuff of legacy. It's the stuff of memories. You don't want to rush it. But there is such a tension. The Yetzer Hara creates all kinds of mischief. Who sits near the front of the table? A lot of married children. Who gets to sit with Tati and Mami? Which grandchildren get closer? The tension of a son-in-law who is not participating in the Seder. He's not active. He's not talking. In our house, we did it differently. The tension if a wife is not ready with everything. The fighting over the afikoimen. Oh, that's a scary one. A wife says in front of the whole family, this year I asked for afikoimen that you should behave better with me. Or finally, will you get me that new kitchen? Or the teenager that asks for a phone in their room. Or an iPad. Or a trip to Paris. All kinds of mischief that I didn't say. That's not, it's not just in one house. It's because the Shekhinah is at stake. And the Yetzer Hara pulls out all stops, like these tablecloth stories. I want to tell you a story. My Rebbetzin hasn't been well the last 3 months. Indeed, I've been meaning every week to mention so that my loyal tape and CD subscribers should know that the reason why the CDs have been arriving a little later than usual is that for 33 years my wife has always stayed up with me Tuesday night and helped me with the mailing of the CDs and the tapes, 33 years. And now she's not well enough to do so, so I'm doing it alone, and it's delayed by at least a half a day, sometimes a day, delivery of CDs. Hopefully soon Miriam Liba Bas Devora should have a refuah shalem b'ser shechel Yisrael, and she should be well enough to help me again. But I told my wife this story. It gave her a lot of chizuk, talking about the Mesiras Nefesh that's related to Pesach night. Reb Zilberstein's wife, Aleh Shalom, first let me tell you the story that Reb Zilberstein said over from Rav Chaim Kanievsky. Now, if I wouldn't be telling you that this was said over by Rav Chaim Kanievsky, you would look at me like I'm a little bit strange in the head, like, Rabbi Weiss, you're saying this on your public share, on TorahAnytime.com, on Kol Lashon, all your subscribers. When there's such a story you say over, it's like, whoa. But Rav Chaim Kanievsky says this story. Rav Zilberstein records it. The Cheshukei Chometz. It was a man who was a well-known Marbitz Torah in Eretz Yisrael. Well-known Marbitz Torah. And they approached him that there would be a kvutza, a gathering of Balei Tshuva, a bunch of couples, Balei Tshuva, new Balei Tshuva, that were gathering for Pesach and having a Seder together. And they would very much like if you would come for a half an hour and tell them some special lessons from the Seder. And that would be something that would really, it would make a difference in their whole life. They're neophytes. And it would inflame them. So you could understand that he was a bit skeptical to leave his family in the middle of the Seder night and walk out for half an hour. I mean, Seder night belongs to the children, to the grandchildren, to the family. But after discussing it with his family, they said, Abba, we could have a Seder late. It will be a life-changing experience for them. It'll be a schus for us. Abba, go. We'll wait. So he told them yes. But a mensch chacht and Gott lacht. Rabbis machshavas belev ish v'atzas Hashem yisakim. The night of the Seder, they said Kaddish, and his wife went into labor. He had to run with her to the hospital. Now, the hospital in Eretz Yisrael is not like a hospital in America. The hospital in Eretz Yisrael, the hospital they used, most of the nurses were dati. So there was a very short staff at the hospital because most of the nurses were by the Seder. So he gets to labor and delivery, and there's almost no staff there. He says, how can I leave my wife? She can go into labor. There's not even going to be anybody to tell the doctor. She needs something. There's no nurses here. So how can I leave? But this is a Rebbetzin who all her life is used to supporting her husband in his Pabatzis Torah. She said, go. I'm a big girl. I have many children already. I can take care of myself. He said, how can I leave you? You'll go into labor. There'll be nobody to call the doctor. You're not exactly mobile. She said, don't worry. Go. I'm a big girl. There's 30 families waiting for you, waiting to be ignited. Go. It'll be a schos for us. So she worked on him a half an hour. Finally, she convinced him to go. So he went. He said his drasha. It was a huge success. He runs back to his hospital. He gets back to the hospital. The baby's born. His wife is smiling. And she has this heavenly glow on her face. So he says, you look great. What happened? What happened? She says, as soon as you left, there came in a new nurse in a spiffy, perfectly beautiful white dress, and she started taking care of me. She says, my husband, I almost fainted. It was Rebbitzin so-and-so who passed away several years ago. I told you I had to fasten your seatbelts for this. Chaim Kanievsky tells us. As soon as the baby was delivered, she disappeared. So Rav Chaim Kanievsky said that normally such a story would be unbelievable. Say somebody was delirious. But he said, for a woman that's meisin nefesh, for a husband to be marbet stayra, such a story is not incredible at all. When I saw this, I told this over to my wife, and I added an addendum. For those of you that have been my Talmidim for decades, you remember in the 80s and the early 90s, I had a share on WNYM radio. So I used to ask 13:30 a.m. I used to ask my wife when she was pregnant, I said, do me a favor. Don't have a baby on Shabbos. I don't want to have a baby on Shabbos. It's too complicated. Don't have a baby on Shabbos. And don't have the baby in the snow. It's too dangerous. And try not to get in the way of my radio programs. She cooperated with all these things. Never had a baby on Shabbos. We never had a baby in the snow. I never had to leave. There were times I have 2 January babies. I have a New Year's baby. That in itself is an interesting story. The way it looked is that my wife was going to deliver exactly midnight New Year's. And there was a big rush that it could be that this would be the first baby of the year. That's a whole big thing. There was a big rush. It was mamish. She was 10 centimeters by like 11:55. And there was a big rush. Everybody had their watches. They said, whoa, we're going to report it right away. It was a big... So my wife asked, what's everybody talking about? So I told her it's exciting, a New Year's baby. She says, you mean you want to put the baby on the radio? That it's a New Year's baby, our baby, a Yiddish baby, a New Year's baby? She shut down. She didn't have the baby till 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll never forget it. She shut down. She said, I'm not interested. So they said, all right, at least the first baby born in Staten Island. I'm not interested. Never forget it. So our Yocheved was born 4 o'clock in the morning, New Year's Day. We had 3 January babies. But not in the snow. My wife did me a favor. She weaved in between the snowstorms. So I remember I was by all the deliveries. I held the baby, the first one, by all of them. I was with my wife. I remember one of our children, the radio program was 10 o'clock in the night. And at that time, it was 11. At that time, it was 10. And the baby was born at 9:15. I held the baby, and my wife said to me, get out of here. You have a radio program. I said, you just had a baby. I don't want to leave you. Get out of here. I remember getting to the radio station, and I still had the blue booties on my feet. I didn't realize. And the guy asked me, what are the boots for? I said, I got a mazel tov. I got congratulations. I had a baby boy. They couldn't believe that. When? 45 minutes ago. So the same Isa, her sacrifice for Abatas Torah should be a schus for her, that she should have a refuah shalema. So you talk about Mesiras Nefesh. Rebbitzin Aliza Shoshana Silberstein. Zechet Tzedekis Avracha Schusi Yogan Aleinu. Her house was always open to Revacha. Her house was always Pesuach l'Ravacha. So on the night of the B'dika, a poor man knocks on the door, and he comes in with all of his bags, and he has a whole bunch of a backpack and a shoulder bag, and on the other arm there's 3 bags, and one of the bags is full of biscuits with crumbs and everything. And she answers the door, "What could I do for you?" He says, "I need a place to stay." Here he is. It's the night of B'dikas Chometz. The house is already sparkling for Pesach. There isn't a crumb in sight. And he comes in with his bag of biscuits, crumbs all over the place. And the family looks at her in shock. How can you let him in? She said a fascinating thing. Again, it's so lofty, but again, it reminds us of what the priority should be. I'm not saying that I'd be able to live up to this, but it's important to hear, to get our priorities. She said, "What could I do? It's not my house. It's Hashem's house." He said, "We could use it." Obviously sent this on you. Do I have a right to turn him away? It's Hashem's house. Remember, that's why there's a mezuzah in front of the house. Mezuzah is the true proof of purchase. It's Hashem's house. That's why we put a mezuzah. Okay, mezuzah is zos mavas. Because of its protection, death is chased away. Mezuzah is zuzma. What's money? Don't make a whole life about money. But the mezuzah is proof of purchase. Just like Shemitah is a reminder who really owns the fields, the mezuzah is a reminder who really owns the house. And she said, Rabbi Tzalisa Shoshana said, "Look, Hashem wants him to come." I'm going to say, "No, it's not my house." What a way to look at things. I want to conclude this subject, and we're going to be set to daven Mariv at 11:15. Hopefully, I'll have at least one run of tonight's share available. I have last week's share also available. I also like to say before I finish that I did start the new shir on Orchos Chaim LaRosh. As a matter of fact, tonight, hopefully, I will record already the 7th shir, and already a week's shiurim. It's 15 minutes a day. The Rosh has 154 pieces of advice for successful life, and we're going through each one. I do 2 a day, and if you want to hear it, it's free. It's on Kol Lashon. You dial 718-906-6400. 906-6400. Press 1 for English, 4 for Musar, and then I'm selection number 4. It's very easy to remember. It's 144. The gematria kedem, like the wine. Right? 144. 1 for English, 4 for Musar, and 4 selection 4. It's also filmed. I film it from my house on TorahAnytime.com. And TorahAnytime.com, you go to Musar Self-Improvement, and the 6 shiurim are already there on film. So we said that this is a very special table. Shulchan Aruch, it's a Zah Shulchan Hashem Lifnei Hashem. The Heilige Radanska Rebbe, in the Tferes Shleima, says a remarkable thing. He says if you look in Arvei Psachim, where it discusses the Seder, it uses very strange terminology. Mozgu loy kais rishon. They pour him the first kais. Hey, viol lefanav, they bring before him matzah v'chazeres, charoises u'shnei tafshilin, the 2 cooked dishes, the zraya and the baya. Then it says in the Mikdash are you mevian lefanav gufay shel Pesach. So it's very shleim. It says, what kind of lashon is it? It should say that a person should have Marer, Charoises, Chazeresh, Neitavshil. What's this? They bring in front of him. Who brings in front of who? What was that talking about? So the Tiferes Shleima says it means that Klal Yisrael brings in front of Hashem what we put on our table. Hashem is there. Most Guloi Kais Rishon. We're pouring before Hashem a Kais Rishon. Heviu Lefanav. We bring before Him. And not only that, when the Mikdash came, Guf Meviu Lefanav Gufo Yishol Pesach. What does it mean, Gufo Yishol Pesach? What do you think? We bring only the soul of the Pesach? What does it mean? Meviu Lefanav Gufo Yishol Pesach. What do you think we bring? Bring a sheep and goat. What's Meviu Lefanav Gufo Yishol Pesach? It says as follows. The Leil of a Rebbe, Friedrich Leil of a Rebbe Zatzal, says that when you daven, it's the machshavas of the davening that goes up to Hashem, our thoughts. That's why it's so scary if a person davens and he has no thoughts. His mind is wandering. Since it's our thoughts that go up to Hashem, just like when you light a flame, it's the fire that goes up. The coals fall down and become ash. So, but when it comes to Pesach, everything is lifnei Hashem. The gufay shel Pesach, not just the machshavas, the meat, the horseradish. It's all lifnei Hashem. The Elohim Rechaim says that's why we eat in the middle of Hallel. Who ever heard of eating in the middle of Hallel? You say the first part you eat, then you say the second one, you're eating in the middle of Hallel for. Finish Hallel and then eat. Say Hallel afterward. In the middle of Hallel you're eating? The answer is this isn't regular eating. This eating is Shulchan Hashel Lefnei Hashem. This is a Shulchan Aruch in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is all Lefnei Hashem. This is not regular eating. Rabbi said we're just getting started in our preparations for the Seder. And we need to get started. As we said earlier, whatever we do makes an impact on our children and grandchildren. They'll remember it till their old age. It stays etched in the memory bank forever. Especially if we say something exciting. When I said to my family that some Gedolim don't open the door for Shvei Chamascha, they open the porch door. Because Eliyahu doesn't need the steps. They'll never forget that. Never forget that. So it needs preparation. And also I want to remind everybody that the Mishnah Yom has just started a new cycle. I know we're in Brachos already in the third parak, but that's okay, it's easy, you can catch up. Don't wait till the next time, that's 5 years and 9 months away. Start now. And that, I have the entire Shas now recorded. It's another free service, you could listen. 718-906-6471, less than 15 minutes a day. 718-906-6471. Thank you for joining us. Reb Chananya ben Akasha, Amarot HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'Zakoyses Yisrael, L'Fika Chir B'Lem Torah Mitzvahs, Shenema Adinoi Chofetz L'man Tzidko Yadul Torah V'Yadi.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.